Hi, everybody. This is day 1590. 590 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered on Fort Bliss, which is evidence then that military was involved. Military was involved. Um, the analysis of this, of course, Leilani Hart said it was a code red. She wrote about it. She wrote it comparing Richard's case to A Few Good Men. So, that's why Leilani Hart is very important in this whole thing. She's was used. And I don't want to make her out to be a victim at all. She is a prime suspect in Richard's murder case, and she was propped up as a unreliable source to obstruct justice in Richard's case, and is absolutely connected with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, is connected with Bliss Avenue. The common denominator there is Mormons. The common denominator is a lawyer, is a Mormon lawyer. And that Mormon lawyer is just connected in so many ways to, the Walmart mass shooting case and also to Richard's case. And Richard's case came first. Richard's case came first because of his whistleblowing reports that created investigations and audits going on at Fort Bliss and El Paso through the border. And that's why you see Veronica Escobar working so hard against us. She worked very hard against us. She absolutely, even when we had a active duty Fort Bliss soldier that had put in a request to have a congressional in Richard's case, which she's obliged to do. He ended up getting bullied. I know in our case, she worked against us. Um, Personally, I know that the AG in Mexico worked against us. And, you could say, oh my gosh, no way. Yes, way. Yes, way. And so she worked very hard. She had a lot to lose. And so they made her co-chair of the Biden campaign. And then when Biden was ousted, because he did not leave willingly, he was ousted. Um, and we're not allowed to say reality, we're not allowed to say reality, but he was not happy about that. And then Harris, with her betrayal to Biden, whether you like them or not, she absolutely betrayed him. And she, grabbed the money from the campaign and started her own campaign. And, a couple phone calls were made, and um, I'm sure. And, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe, Kamala Harris just said, oh, I want Veronica Escobar to be my co-chair of my campaign over one point, whatever, over $1 billion. Some people say $1.4 billion. I think it was Kamala that said that. So, it's the mismanagement of over $1 billion, the mismanagement of El Paso, this mismanagement of the border, the mismanagement of Fort Bliss, this mismanagement of the camps, of the emergency intake center, the mismanagement of hundreds and thousands of children. It's all a pattern, it's all there. The mismanagement of Richard Halliday's murder case, it's all there. The mismanagement of the Walmart mass shooting. Do not forget that she is a representative of the people there in El Paso. Okay, she's a representative of the people, not just the Democrats, of the people there in El Paso. Now, I know for sure in El Paso there are some Republicans. I know there's a Republican Party in El Paso. And when the Walmart mass shooting happened and President Trump absolutely scheduled right away a meeting to come down to El Paso to show up, the President of the United States, whether, whoever it is, it's the President of the United States, comes to pay their condolences, to offer help, offer financial help, right? And she refused to meet with him. So that is, her MO is to mismanage. Her MO is to do harm to the people of El Paso, to whatever she puts her hands to. She's going to mismanage because she is not for good. She is absolutely dedicated to destruction, to bad things, to being dedicated. She's not for the Constitution because of her participation in the appointment of an illegal to the medical the chief examiner's position. That was all a fraud. That's all a scam. That's all. He's not even qualified, and he was illegal. And he's an imposter. And then you have the magistrate court just taken over by a bunch of imposters, letting the Council of Judges, which is Sam Medrano, appoint a bunch of imposters, including Penny Hamilton, which is really a very big deal, because Penny Hamilton, the imposter, magistrated Patrick Crusius, and that and detained him. So this is and the word is, information coming into us is that she's the one where the CID on Fort Bliss, doing the investigation for Richard, got their subpoenas and warrants. And she did it without any authority, no authority to be even allowed to do it. And so, yeah, that's all creating a lot of the exposing of this imposter fraud of a very powerful court that has full jurisdiction, full countywide jurisdiction. Is it's crazy because the people there are asking for, what are your credentials, what are your credentials, um and rightfully so, so that's making huge moves. And I would say, it's not 100% because of Team Fire Richard Halliday that all of this is being exposed, and there is this massive realignment and chaos at the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. But I would say like 90% of it, right? 90%. I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. Maybe more, maybe more. It is absolutely because the number of our filings is just unbelievable. It is just hundreds of filings, and then of course the overall picture, we have filed so many more, and so that is having an effect. And the lack of saying Richard's name. I was looking at um, articles, and we were evaluating, analyzing articles. The articles at the beginning, the first 2 years, primarily in our analysis, was to draw attention from the 44 four-star generals that have betrayed the United States, betrayed their oath of office, betrayed their beautiful uniforms, their beautiful stars. They have betrayed us, and they need to be fired. Um, they absolutely were using the media, and of course, you have, and this is what we learned through all of this is like a Fit Femme El Paso, which who's behind that? The Epic and the El Paso intelligence community. So, EPIC, the El Paso intelligence community, that's the CIA, that's the DEA, that's the FBI, that's, CID, that's, and more and more. They're the ones behind that. And they use the media to manipulate the narratives. They manipulate history. That's what they do. They manipulate the truth. They manipulate history, and they try to manipulate and rewrite history. In Richard's case, they tried to change who he is, right? Who he was and who he is. They try to paint him differently than reality. And that was very, very obvious. And we were like, what the hell is going on? They are absolutely involved. And why did they use the media to do that? Why did they use Leilani Hart to obstruct justice and paint our key witness also trying to rewrite history, make a person out to be not what they are, just try to mess with reality, right? That's what they're trying to do, change the narrative to change reality, and obstruct justice, sanitize Richard's files, cover up the reports of finding his remains, um, and then this new information that's coming to us that there was a military vehicle at the location of the crime scene, of the beginning of the interactions. And, who would have that? The prime suspect in Richard's murder case is his first lieutenant, is his platoon leader, Dallas Hart. And Dallas Hart, we have evidence, and it's notarized, and it's been filed with the FBI, that there is a child porn problem, that there is, a child abuse problem, that there is an incest problem, that there is a problem with purchasing weapons illegally, that there is a problem altogether in so many different ways between siblings. Um, that's not good. Um, and I'm trying to keep it as clean as possible. But you can know that it is super dirty, super dirty. And this has been going on for a long time. This is, matter of fact, from what our information reads, it is a couple of generations. It's a couple of generations. And it makes you really suspicious of the whole Mormon thing with, it just because the underlining common denominator here is that they're Mormon, right? So many of these individuals, so many, the mass majority of these suspects in Richard's case are Mormon. And it makes you really, really suspicious of what their ethics are, what's going on, because there seems to be a real involvement in organized crime. And, we have it connected to the Mexican cartel. And, you know, that is not without evidence because you have, like Mitt Romney's father, being one of and there's many, I think there's like seven, I think there were 7 or 9 of these families that went into Mexico and settled in Colonial Juarez, Nova Casa Grande, Colonial Dublin, and and they own this big swath of land that comes all the way up. You have to drive up through to New Mexico. They normally come through New Mexico. Remember that there was contention between connections between the Mexican cartel and the Mormons because remember that one family got all shot up. That was widely reported. And I don't think it was just like a hate crime. I think it was a business crime. I do, because of all the evidence that's in Richard's case. In Richard's case, that connect, the Walmart mass shooting with a very prominent Mormon lawyer, and all the connections with the Mormons that are up to no good, that are Bliss Avenue Mormons that connect the Walmart mass shooting to Richard's case. And, I don't have anything, um, I like the piano guys. I bought Donny Osmond, um, uh, it's probably the only little 45 record that I bought when I was a young girl was a Donny Osmond. Um, so it's not. I'm just telling you the facts here. Something has gone very, very wrong, and the level of crimes that have been reported to the FBI in this group, and that, are involved in the funeral home business and in mortuary affairs and more, and the child corn um, and hurting children and the child care, um, and then you have hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied, unaccompanied children. Now that just blows my mind. Okay, that just blows my mind because that just absolutely makes me shiver. That absolutely upsets me to think of all these children that are unaccompanied. What do you mean? They're traveling unaccompanied? Hundreds of thousands of them? Hundreds of thousands of them? You could think, oh, maybe there's a bad apple, but no, this tells me that they're taken children. They're taken. These are taken children. And I absolutely don't believe they came on their own volition and all this payment and all this stuff. What the media says, I do not hold the media's narrative in high regard at all. No, I don't. Because they lie through their teeth and they just think about this whole election cycle, the level of lies coming out of them was so egregious and it was so obvious. It was so obvious. And so when they say, even like this last two-year old child that came over with a note and, oh, my uncle told me to do, I'm supposed to go to family. A 2-year old me, 2.5-year old. Are you kidding me? Unaccompanied. Hell no, I don't believe the narrative. I'm sorry. I don't believe the narrative at all. I would have to look more into that, knowing what I know now with the way um, the media is used. And I'll tell you, at the beginning of this, when we were doing some research, we discovered that there's like an underground media. There's like an underground media that s- we're not privy to, you know? And so, absolutely, I think that the media is used to hypnotize us, to direct us, uh, to think, I don't know, to live in a matrix, something that's not true at all. And Robert and Richard and I, we watched that movie together a few times because we were really fascinated with the Matrix, and what it was trying to say, what it was trying to say, um, through sociology, what it, as far as human behavior goes, but what was it trying to say theologically? What was the lessons? It was, uh, you know, really that was a very interesting movie. If you haven't watched it, and I'm just talking about the first one. They've made all these sequels, and I'm just talking about the first one. Um, it's where where what's his name is given a choice, the blue pill or the red pill, and it is really uh like the media programs us. Oh, well, it's called programs, right? To believe a certain thing and not to trust our own instincts, our own intelligence, our own, and we've gotten lazy. We don't want to investigate. And of course, our family was pushed into it because of Richard. And I think, in 2020, what they did with all the illness and stuff like that, um, we were pushed into that because, of course, with our family being a medical family, we didn't buy that narrative either. And it just is um, shocking um, that that the people that we pay to defend us, to give us freedom, is working with the media to give us false narratives and to betray their duty. And this is why the media stories that we have analyzed, making a full circle now, really is to protect the highest ranking, to say, oh, well, the unit was going through some hard times, but, not too bad. Not enough that it is our fault. All the media stories were really to kick the accountability away from those that are accountable. Those that are accountable. So, and of course, we have the plane number that leads to pretty high ranking. We have, these phone traces that lead to high ranking. Um, and now, this information about a military vehicle. And of course, Dallas Hart would have access to the vehicle. Plus, he's had, sweetheart. And I'm not saying that his life has been sweetheart. No, I think he's been absolutely living in a a living hell. He's been living in a living hell. I don't think he even knows about beauty and glory and joy and all of that, because when you're raised in an incestual, a generational, and made to do the things that we read that he was made to do and learn how to do, and that it's at a certain age, and these horrible things that absolutely make you live in a living hell. And then, then all of a sudden you're looking for your child corn. Let me find that child corn because, what is he making money off of it or something? I don't know. And then everything is being videotaped and airdropped and this and that, and everything is for money. And, and then your mother is having, you know, uh, going with him and going with him and going with him and, and going with them all together. And even family members like Tavita Nusa, he's a family member and she was absolutely, we have it confirmed that she was, intimate with him and, just crazy. So, no, but because of that hell, he was given favors. It's kind of like Texas Hart being interviewed by Dallas Morning News, Angela Kachurga's husband. They're all like in this little sick criminal group, a very sick criminal group. And of course, uh, playing his ukulele for Black Lives Matter, who's, you know, mostly peaceful, burning in the background. Crazy stuff. Very political family. And then lots of problems in Dallas Hart's life, and yet he gets green to gold. That's like a favoritism. And so, of course, as first lieutenant, he feels like he has access, and but he did. They gave him access to vehicles. He had access to vehicles like a Humvee, and we even have um, evidence about people feeling like they could give away military Humvees to civilians. Like, oh yeah, I'll just give you a Humvee. It absolutely corroborates this disaster in Afghanistan where, Mealy is like, oh, it's too expensive to bring our equipment home. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You got it over there, you can bring it back home. They were all spoken for. All that equipment was already spoken for, right? The deals were made, the wheeling and dealing, just like in the court, the wheeling and dealing and the seals. And let's seal this case so no one can see it. Absolutely. No one's saying that. They're all saying, oh, they just left it there because they can't say the truth that there is no way that he would just leave it there when you have year after year after year of Pentagon failure to pass an audit. What, it just corroborates where did this money go? It's not like it just happened in the year of the Afghanistan that they failed to pass their audit. It's been going on for a long time. We have the betrayal of 44 four-star generals. And and I know, it's like, oh, don't pick on them. Look, we are a military family, and what they have done to us, I just can't hold back on that. The the leadership, the 3 stars and 4 stars for sure. And I want to add in Major General James Eisenhower, right? And I'm going to talk about that too. But they absolutely need to be fired, and charges need to be levied against them. And they absolutely have done things that deserve the death penalty. We cannot tolerate our young soldiers like Austin Hawk, like Vanessa Guillen, like Enrique Roman Martinez, like Richard Halliday, like so many others, being killed, being killed. I mean, on base. I mean, okay, Enrique was at the island with his head rolled ashore. His head rolled ashore. They never wanted to find his body, right? His head rolled ashore. That means he was brutally murdered. How many? We cannot tolerate this for greed, for their criminal syndicates, for their we this is a national security threat at the highest level with leaders like this who needs enemies. Everybody's like, the media is talking about China and talking about Russia, right, and Iran and that, and I'm like, no, it's Mealy, it's Bernabe, it's Donna Martin, it's Eisenhower, it's Kurt Taylor. These are our enemies. It's Clem Coward. It was under Clem Coward. Their criminal activity, every last one of those, McConville, Michael Garrett, they are absolutely the worst type of criminals. The worst type. Because they're the ones that are supposed to be of the highest caliber, esprit de corps, Medal of Honor ethos, charm school diplomatic, with a love for their service members, for their love of the land and the people, for the love of defending the Constitution. That's what they're supposed to be, and they even swear. They swear on it. They take an oath. They are the worst. Absolutely. The death penalty needs to be on the table for each and every one of them. They need to, if found guilty, hang by their neck until dead. They cover up the chopping up my son. And they think that we're just supposed to look the other way while they pay people. Think about it. I'm was just looking up this some of these people. Look, I've looked up so many people, and they're like working at the post office in 2022 because they've been, relieved of duty, right? We got to get them out. We got to get them out. And then they're working at the post office for $17, and all of a sudden they buy a house for $400,000 and a fancy new car and a this and that. And they look, y'all. No, this cannot be taught. Look at what Leilani Hart did. She in that paperwork, okay, that was notarized. She notarized that she came into this country illegally. She notarized that. And the FBI accepted it. And she did that to get benefits. Y'all, she gets major benefits right now. And why? Everywhere she goes, she causes absolute problems. Pro- Not criminal problems. She's a continuous criminal. And some people don't think it is serious business to commit adultery. Okay, whatever. I do. I think it's uh, treason against the family. Treason against the family. Because you really have to put your own self before your family to do something like that. No self discipline or love for your family. And if that's what's going on at the highest level, then they are going to betray the American family, their duty, their duty to their country. And when they do that, that's how soldiers die. On military bases, on their own military bases, in their own barracks. 2479, building 2479 is the crime scene. It's Richard's last known location. And Major General Eisenhower is like, that arms room needs to be totally, fully renovated right now, immediately. No cost spared. It's got to be renovated. Totally gutted. Totally renovated. Got to do it. And bypass everything. Everything. Just bypass all our regulations, our checks and balances. We've got the Pentagon failing their 7th audit, billions and billions of dollars, and yet you have Major General Eisenhower going, gotta gut the crime scene. We gotta gut the crime scene, have it fully renovated. No cost spared. Y'all, he cannot get away with that. Because it's more and more sons, more and more daughters. Then it comes into communities, more and more communities. It's like this evil, this crime, it festers, it grows, it metastasizes like a cancer. And then it takes over the whole culture. And then you've got people totally enslaved, totally, their families just turned, flip flopped over. Talk about depression. But I was fortunate to watch, well, having the faith I do, and then to watch Anne of Green Gables. Watch that. You're going to laugh. You might laugh. But there's one line in it that Mariah, I think her name's Mariah, she says, well, Anne says to her, don't you ever despair? And she goes, no, child. To despair is to turn your back on God. Let me tell you, I don't remember much about that movie, but I remember that line. And it has gotten me through and made me understand the Bible quite a bit. And they've gotten me through some of the lowest times. Because God is in control. God's timing is perfect. God has already solved this crime. God has already solved the Walmart mass shooting crime. Look at what Team Farm Richard Halliday has exposed. You've got imposters that took over a court that had full countywide jurisdiction and made it have no authority. And yet, the people had to pay them. The people had to pay for years since 2015. A court that had no legal authority because it had been usurped, it had been trespassed, it had been taken over. It has been, what would be a good word for all of that? When you just take over something. The you know, those that did that in the Council of Judges and Veronica Escobar and who's the new one, the new county judge right now, who and we really need to write him. We need to write him. I need to put him down on my list. And tell him, look, you cannot pay these imposters. If you pay these imposters, then you're with them and you're liable. I think. I think you would be liable. But Veronica Escobar paid them. She she approved an imposter for the medical examiner. And then she's paying these imposters that have taken over the whole court, the mag court, the whole magistrate court that has now thousands of cases, y'all. Are like the Walmart mass shooting is botched because there's imposters everywhere. Right? There's imposters everywhere. Penny Hamilton is an imposter. She had no authority. The medical examiner, an imposter. No authority. And you can go on and on. And each illegal person that comes like Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, she's an imposter. She said she was a witness. She wasn't even a witness to the mass. She was in Mexico. They were trying to make her out to be a witness. And then she uses her illegal status. She's not a widow. She's an imposter. She's over in German news. I speak German. Okay. She's over in German news being the Witwe. She's not the Witwe. She's an imposter. I hope that she's not trying to get Witwe benefits in Germany because that's pretty good benefits. But she's not the Witwe. She's an imposter. And then her daughter is also an imposter. It's just one imposter after the other trying to cash in. And you have the leadership in the military participating in this, what do you call it? This taking advantage of our beautiful country with no loyalty to the country. Because people think you don't have to have loyalty now. That you don't have to have loyalty. I mean, even in their criminal groups, they don't have loyalty. They don't have loyalty to their family. They don't have loyalty to their children. You know, clearly they don't have loyalty to their debt. So many of them have, I'll just file bankruptcy. They don't have loyalty to their obligations. Their character is, and I'm not saying 100%, but for the most part, it's been such a, it's been huge. It's been a huge learning curve. And we knew that, things happen. And at the beginning, you're like, things happen in life and you can rally. I mean, you can't see her right now, but Justinian and Theodora. You know, Theodora went through terrible, terrible times. You know, and you can rally. And that's why we even adopted older children, because you can rally. There's hope. There's, and we were so fortunate. We were the ones being that have always been blessed with our sons. From day one, I remember walking in the first time I laid eyes on them, and the lawyer was like, "This is your mom." And Robert grabbed my hand and said, "Mamo," because in Polish, mother is mamo, mamo. Um, Richard was, he was just so shy. Um, it was just, we've been very blessed. And so, because of that, I'm going to fight like hell for Richard. So, and what they did to him was absolutely brutal. And maybe because of our naive family trying to do the best that we can do and teaching him the right way and loyalty and what's family. Loyalty makes a family. And, also tolerance and forgiveness and all of those things. And um, Major General Bernabe, who is just like demon incarnate, but he could tell you that we were very patient and really wanted to work with everybody, wanted to meet with everybody, wanted to think the best about everybody. And yet, they absolutely took advantage of that. Like they took advantage of Richard. And while we were there, trying to absolutely give everyone the benefit, they were busy scheming and plotting behind our back to target Richard, continue targeting Richard, targeting his character, his name, to really to do a smear campaign on him while protecting someone like Leilani Hart and the unit like Dallas Hart and like Tavita Nusa, like Joe Spencer. Well, Joe Spencer, I've been working on a song about him again, another song, just asking questions to him from things that came up, because he absolutely, with a defense lawyer like him, who needs an enemy? But he's more than just Patrick Crucius's messed up, failed criminal defense lawyer. He absolutely played a role in the orchestration, the plotting and the planning and the scheming and the colluding and the conspiring, whatever you want to call it, of both the obstruction of justice and the Walmart case and Richard's case. And they will protect that while taking advantage of the naive, loving family and a young soldier that, takes it very seriously when he takes an oath, that was aspiring to be a CID agent, that was aspiring to be all he could be, to be an army of one, that was a distinguished honor graduate, to have esprit de corps, to live up to his name, Richard Halliday. Yeah, to be Medal of Honor ethos material, to be so sweet, right? That's the description from most of the people that I've talked to. Oh my gosh, he's so sweet. He's so sweet. What? To protect the criminal network, they'll let a young man, a young whistleblower like that be brutally murdered. The story that we're getting is that they used knives and it was brutal and it's torturous and dismembered him on Fort Bliss. On Fort Bliss. Yes, I want these people to have charges brought against them. I want to have a judge or judges that have the credentials, and I want them held accountable for what they did in the retaliation, in the brutal murder, and the subsequent cover up, the plotting and the continuing of the plotting and the colluding and the scheming that even more people got hurt. You wouldn't believe what they did. And they did it with taxpayers' money. They did their evil deeds and were paid by taxpayers' money. And that's why that Walmart mass shooting fund, the distribution of it, the shame of it, the shame of the distribution of that money, is so important. And that's why the audits of the Pentagon are so important, because it shows the mismanagement, which is only by those that don't give a damn about their oath and are there to carry out their personal greedy desires. And that is why this is so important about Representative Veronica Escobar, because I can tell you right now, she was absolutely up to no good. Absolutely up to no good. And her involvement with the Harris campaign, with the Biden campaign, that are absolutely with the Romneys, with the, oh, who's that other family? Cheneys. Oh, there's a reason for all of that. There, am I asking for too much for our country? For our son? Am I asking for too much? I don't think so. I don't think so. We need accountability. And thank you so much, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. Weren't there statements from Electra about Richard Halliday being murdered in the arms room like Vanessa Guillen? Yes, there was, and she's part of the evidence. And she's She's rising real quick to the top of the list of 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 people that broke this case that gave us. And it's so um obvious now. Um but when she came forward, and you can say she was trying to protect herself, or how she was giving us the information, or whatever. you know it was You had so much going on. And the trust, the loyalty and the trust is so broken. And we knew uh that Donna Martin was up to no good, that McConville was up to no good, that Sean Bernabe was up to no good, that the JAG was up. The JAG told us to our face that Richard could have got 6 years in prison for if he wanted to go court martial. And the thing is he was already dismissed. And oh man, the more we knew, the more that came forward, the more we understood, the more we knew that they were uh, not to be trusted, that they were protecting or participating in this criminal um, group. And whatever business, like the criminal trafficking business, whatever it was, or the child co- corn business, or I mean, whatever, right? Which is child torture. Um, and she came, and at the very beginning, I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna worry about her. But they brought in Chris Martin. Remember, Chris Martin was brought in for that. And they were adamant. They were adamant that I didn't ask them to go out and traipse in the desert at 100 degrees. I did not ask them to do that. No one in Team Fire Richard Holiday asked them to do, or our family or close family asked them to do that, to put their lives on the line like that. And yet they wanted to make this a big scene. They wanted to prove her wrong and whatever. And now it's like, oh wow, wow, she is. And they really went after her with exposing, um, trying to smear her and her family and everything. And I'm just it when I watched Glendon Oakley Jr. in one day, in a matter of hours, how they went after him. These are operatives. These are absolutely paid operatives. But we're getting information that, like, the West family is part of the Garrett family. Corinne, are you somehow related to the Garrett family? I mean, you got connections with them? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just asking. With Deborah Sarah West and her son and the pilot. Um, yeah, there is just so many dots being connected. And them, going all out to have, Operation Red Balloon and all of that. Um, eh, you know, I it is just so hard to comment on it because you have to live through it. And and it's just so much chaos. You just don't know who to trust. um you end up not trusting anybody, and then someone comes along and wants to give you information. And you're like, oh, I don't know. um so we'll see. We are cooperating the information now, where things are more exposed, and we absolutely see who's who and what's what. And um, not 100% yet, but it's getting there. And Um, and we've developed relationships where the trust has grown. And so, and more individuals, especially with this election, the election, they're under the Biden administration, there was so much weaponization of our Department of Justice and the Department of State and the FBI. The FBI were so weaponized, or still weaponized, right? The IRS, just a lot of weaponization going on. And so people, were rightfully protecting themselves and their families. Um, we absolutely understand that. But now with this new administration, I think people are still a little bit leery, still wanting to be careful. But more and more people are coming forward, and we're getting more and more information. And this information, the whole thing about vehicles is a big deal. We have a lot of information on vehicles. And don't forget, I just posted up Edwin Sishane, who, he's an interesting character, um, sitting on the Humvee, and that black mark that's on the picture, that that was on the original that we found. He's been pretty cleared off of the internet. There's some things on there now with him. And why? 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 If he has an honorable, um, or whatever, if he has service, something is going on. And anyway, but he's sitting on the Humvee, and it's very interesting Humvee. So all of that has to be analyzed and looked into, and with more and more institutional support, and this new administration coming in, absolutely, more and more people, uh, you know, testing the waters. Think about how long it's been since there's been well, I don't think there's ever been a decent, well, there's been a couple, maybe a couple decent articles on Richard. Um, but this has been like groundbreaking. So many breaking news, and where are the stories? Where are the stories? So yeah. So I think that, well, I know because I'm the one that um, you know has privy to this, that more and more information is coming forward, and Team Find Richard Halliday is just um, absolutely takes our breath away. It's just been after all this time that people are still concerned and people still want justice for Richard. Thank you so much. We're very grateful. And we will, we're fighting behind the scenes every day, hours and hours, putting all this stuff together, documenting. It's massive, and then going back and revisiting, like uh, and I'm going to touch on this to make sure I can read it. The arms room remodeled. Yeah. No, that is on audio. And so that really gives the paranormal some kudos, I guess, or she reliability. I mean, yeah, that, she cussed me out at the end, which I didn't blame her. I let her do it. Um, and because she was being so abused, um, and I hope she knows it wasn't from us. It was, well, maybe, it's just being so manipulated. You're just so manipulated all the time. Yeah, because they knew Richard Halliday was they knew absolutely that Richard Halliday was murdered. They didn't want another Guillen. They didn't want another Guillen, and they knew he had been brutally murdered. And it's coming out. It's all coming out. And, it's just filing, 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 filing. And, we're just hopefully praying, and we know sooner or later, um, the correct people will get the information, and it will be politically expedient to, right? See, look, President Trump wants these betrayers in the military out, out. And Mealy sold us out for China. And Veronica Escobar refused to meet with the President of the United States. That means she sided with those that murdered in the mass shooting. That's what she did. And she absolutely knew that Patrick Crusius was not mentally able, that Patrick Crusius was not racist, that he was not a white supremacist. She knew. And she knew that Richard had been murdered, because don't forget about some legal things that have happened also to change areas there for searches and things like that. I mean, I can go into that whole Castner Range thing and all of that. There's been a lot of damage done by her, a lot of damage. And it was no surprise. I mean, it was like, of course she's going to be the co-chair for Harris. Of course she is. And this is not, like they're, well, she didn't have much of a political stance, did she? She's just going with the wind, going with whatever wind. She didn't have any kind of really character, right? It's just going with whatever. Um, and I think that's what got her to lose. But wherever the money, 1.4 billion, like it's like, she's totally up for sale, totally up for sale. Um, that's what that tells me. You collect all that money, that means you're up for sale. Oh yeah, I'll give you this. I'll do this for you. You're just selling out the whole country. Because she had absolutely no power. I don't know. It's so hard to describe for me through when I'm doing the live streams, but to see Veronica Escobar be her co-chair, that's just like, yes, of course, of course. And she did so much harm to El Paso. She did so much harm. She's done so much harm to all these cases, the judicial system, and to Fort Bliss. And Fort Bliss, of course, is connected to Fort Hood, and her meeting with us, just, the whole intelligence community, the border. And let's face it, if she's going to do that to El Paso, it was worse in Juarez, because these are Siamese sister cities. And whatever happens in El Paso, it's felt in Juarez even more. And they just suffered so much. And she's just such a criminal. She's just such a criminal. So, yeah, thank you so much. And I think that the paranormal, and I've thought this for a while, and I think I've already said it on a live stream. Um, I'm really gonna have to just just tell her sorry, Um, anyway, that day will come. I think that day will come. Um, And I will be very, very glad to be humble. Very glad because we want, I know our family, we want our son's remains, and we want, of course, his name. That means so much to us because he deserves it. He's a hero. And for them to smear him like they were, like they are still, why haven't they contacted us? They gave us all the receipts, right? They gave us all the receipts. We haven't even had time. Well, whatever. Um, they gave us the receipts and then they didn't give him back his rank. Where's his rank? They promoted him twice, but then they go, oh, that's automatic. Oh, that's not, wait a minute. Where is it in the newspaper? The apology. My God. He was murdered on Fort Bliss. And they're not giving us his remains, and then they want to allude to their stupid narratives that don't even fit with the paperwork, that don't even fit with the receipts, and they tamper with the files, and then they leak them out and tell people to read them, and and they're just so evil. They're so evil. And the evil part about it is that they're doing this to their own soldier. They're doing it. They did it to Vanessa. They did it to Enrique. They did it to Austin Hawk. And more, to Asia Graham. And they don't blink an eye to do it to Glendon Oakley Jr. To smear them, to it's just they're so evil. So thank you so much for listening to this and coming on. Look, it's 1:05 in the morning here, and sharing this. And um, gosh, thank you so much. And we will. I cannot tell you how much information we're getting in. So thank you so much. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.